Ric Flair started 1998 in a hyped program with Bret Hart, leading to their build-up promo segments being some of the highest on the show on a weekly basis on the way to the sold-out pay-per-view main event. Flair's final TV appearance in his original run came on March 9 in a match against Curt Hennig, picking up over 700,000 viewers to a 5.2 rating, with Flair continuing to be in the headlines while off television in the weeks and months following, with high-profile lawsuits between Bischoff and the company, building up to his return on September 14 for one of the most memorable segments of his career, gaining over 1.3 million viewers to the peak quarter of a night 5.4 rating, with the Flair vs. Bischoff feud consistently bumping viewers in the lead-up to Starrcade as one of WCW's highest-drawing programs of the year, culminating in the final show of '98 with the first televised Flair vs. Bischoff match jumping to a big 6.2 rating to close the year. Flair's averages while working were some of the highest in the business, but he only made sporadic appearances in the first 4 months of the year due to the contract dispute with the company before returning full-time in September to December. For the first 6 months of the year, Randy Savage was the joint top-drawing performer in the industry, with him having the highest rating average and most viewers gained for his segments before taking time off for knee surgery in mid-June. Savage, in an in-house NWO feud against Hogan, broke new milestones for WCW on a weekly basis to start '98 in the highest-drawing program in the business, with the company peaking in every department, leading to the Savage vs. NWO segments routinely breaking the record for the most watched quarters in history, starting on January 26 with Savage arriving to the building to confront the NWO, bumping the show to an all-time peak 5.3 rating, with the biggest number of the year to date coming on April 20 with Savage vs. Hogan headlining Night Row for the title to shatter every cable TV record in history with a big 6.5 rating. Savage's final program in '98 saw him bumping viewers for several promo segments against Roddy Piper in the build to a Savage vs. Bret Hart match, before making his return after over 6 months out to close the year with a new look during the Flair-Bischoff match, as with him written off TV just before WCW had 2 of its highest-rated months in July and August. Savage would have been on track to be at or near the top of the list by the end of the year. Mick Foley and Kane teamed up for 4 months of the year in a feud against Austin and Taker, with their biggest number during the run coming against each other, with the first ever Hell in a Cell match on TV picking up over 1.3 million viewers to a 5.3 rating. Foley had the highest average head-to-head rating in the WWF in February on the back of a big segment that saw the Outlaws pushing Foley and Funk off the stage in a dumpster, drawing a 4 rating, which at the time was Raw's highest ever opposed rating. Kane, following the Taker feud, went into a title program against Austin in June that saw him headline the highest rated draw to date on June 28 with the Kane vs. Austin main event drawing a near-Raw record 5.9 rating. With Kane turning babyface and being forced to join the corporation, Mankind in a feud with Rock and McMahon went to the next level at the end of the year with some of the highest rated numbers on every show. Scott Hall's first 3 months of '98 saw him in the top 5 drawing performers in the business, building to singles pay-per-view matches against Larry Zbyszko and a title match against Sting, with his last appearance for the next few months before taking time off for personal issues coming on the special spring break show on March 16 with him and Nash coming out drunk in a comedic segment with Giant. While off television, the NWO split storyline saw leaders Hogan and Nash legitimately pushing for Hall to come back on their side, with Hall returning big in July with his biggest individual month of the year, averaging a 5 rating with 3-month quarter highs 5.4 ratings in the first 2 weeks for first-time ever matches against Goldberg and Hogan. The second half of '98 saw Hall in a drinking angle, playing off legit issues going on at the time, going to the next level on a worked shoot intervention segment on September 14 that saw Bischoff and Nash trying to get Hall to the back, jumping over 700,000 viewers to a 4.8 rating to open the Outsiders feud. Undertaker returned on March 2 to kick off the build-up to WrestleMania 14, with the Kane feud's biggest drawing angles coming after the show in a series of segments building to the first Inferno match, including 2 peak 4.9 ratings in April and May. Taker's biggest program of the year saw him in a 3-month build-up with Austin to SummerSlam, with his biggest month coming in the final build-up to the pay-per-view in August with a 5.3 rating average and a 5 million viewer gain, setting up Taker and Kane teaming up for the first time in the year, with Taker's run from September to November seeing his segments bumping Raw over 7 million viewers, closing the year turning heel on Kane to rejoin Paul Bearer and start the build to the Ministry reveal, with his last appearance in '98 also one of the most talked about, with him involved in a main event tag match with Rock against Austin and Mankind doing a peak 5.6 rating, before jumping over 1.4 million viewers for the post-match, with Taker putting Austin on a symbol in a crucifixion-like angle drawing a 6.9. After months of behind-the-scenes issues between the Nash and Hall to the Hogan and Bischoff camps, catching fire with Eric's firing of Sean Waltman in March, Nash took over the NWO Wolfpack to go on a top singles run for the first time in 2 years. Nash's first world title match since losing the WWF title over 2 years earlier came on April 6 in a TV main event against Sting, jumping over 1.6 million viewers to a record post-quarter 5.8 rating. The Wolfpack peaked in the summer of '98 with some of the highest merchandise numbers in history, with the Wolfpack to NWO Hollywood feud splitting to 2 main singles programs with Nash vs. Hall and Sting vs. Bret, building to the first Outsiders match at the Havoc pay-per-view on October 25. Nash's career took a different turn in mid-November, as after years of contributing ideas and being involved in the process, Nash has officially joined the creative committee before taking over as the head of the group, setting up the Starrcade main event with the Nash vs. Goldberg build-up starting on Nash's first show and the alleged new backstage role on November 23. Rock went through 3 stages throughout the year that took him from a potential superstar in January to a top-tier headliner by November, with the first one coming in March and April, with him starting many of the elements that will turn into iconic features of his character, along with taking over as the leader of the nation, with him drawing Raw's peak rating of the night in back-to-back weeks for a main event against Austin and the Turn on Farouk segment between March 23 to 30 drawing 4.2 and 4.3 ratings. The second stage to the top came in July and August, with Rock in addition to the usual major heat starting to get mixed reactions from the crowds, and going to the next level as a viewership mover, with him bumping Raw over 8 million viewers for his quarters during the period, including the most peak segments in the WWF with 5 out of the 8 weeks in the build-up to SummerSlam. Rock's transformation was completed in November with the lead-up to Survivor Series against McMahon and the coronation of the corporate champion, including breaking every Raw record in history the following night with the highest overall rating in show history and the highest peak ever recorded on a Raw broadcast for his first title defense against Austin, drawing a 7.3 rating, with Rock from that point on topping every chart in the industry with the highest rating average, most viewers gained and most show high numbers, with him peaking 7 out of the 9 Raw shows in November and December. After months of his reactions growing on a weekly basis, Bill Goldberg, less than a year after his debut, was already a legit difference maker in every aspect, with his first big drawing test coming on April 20th with his first title match against Raven being placed to start in the crossover segment at 9 p.m. just when Raw was going on the air, leading to WCW blitzing Raw with a 5.7 to 3.7 margin, with the 5.7 rating also the highest ever in the first quarter. Goldberg's fastest rise in history led to WCW building the promoted biggest TV show in company history on him in front of a record hometown crowd at the Georgia Dome, with 2 first-time ever matches against Hall and Hogan bumping WCW over 3 million viewers on the night, with the Goldberg-Hogan match breaking all cable TV records with a 6.9 rating, taking Goldberg's status to the next level as a proven megastar, with him having the highest rating average in the industry for the next 4 months between July to October, the longest streak on top of any performer during the year. Goldberg's biggest number of the year was also the biggest in history to date, with the replay of the Goldberg vs. Page Havoc match on October 26 drawing the highest rated quarter in history with a 7.2 rating, and in the process beating Raw by a record 3.9 rating points. Due to the nature of his character, with him usually not going long enough to fill a full quarter hour or have multiple promo segments a show, Goldberg's peak numbers and viewers gained circumstantially took a hit compared to other top stars in his position, but with him ending the year with the 2 highest rated quarters in history and the joint highest rating average in the business. Coming off winning the WCW title at Starrcade '97, Sting was back working full-time in the lead-up to the rematch against Hogan at Super Brawl, with the build seeing Sting team up with Savage Giant and Luger against the 3 original NWO members in a series of tag matches, breaking records almost on a weekly basis in the 5.3 to 5.7 rating range. Sting's 2 biggest TV title matches came against Page and Nash, with both drawing show-high numbers. First with him opening the head-to-head quarter on March 23 with a 5.4 rating against Page, and 2 weeks later headlining Nitro in a first-ever match against Nash, drawing a record a post 5.8 rating. Sting joined the Wolfpack after 3 hours of hype in the main event segment on June 1, drawing a peak 4.3 rating, with him involved in Wolfpack tag matches and promo segments throughout the summer until moving into a singles program with Bret Hart. Sting and Bret headlined TV in 3 out of the 4 weeks during October, peaking the show in each one with ratings between 5 to 5.4 and over 2 million viewers gained, with Sting, despite being written off TV in an injury angle the following week and not having multiple promoted segments at the start of the year, still ended every drawing category near the top of the list. With the first signs of Vince McMahon's drawing power as an on-screen character coming from the intrigue of the follow-up of Montreal in November '97, Vince's integration into regular TV storylines in March '98 had immediate effects, with him in the span of 2 weeks involved in Raw's two highest-rated opposed quarters to date, with 4.5 and 4.3 ratings for segments with Michaels, Tyson and Austin. Weeks later, Vince's status went from a strong TV character to a legit difference-maker, with Raw built on his in-ring debut against Austin, ending WCW's 83-week winning streak with the McMahon-Austin angle, breaking the all-time Monday Night Wars record with a 6 rating. After being Raw's most prominent character for the rest of the year by tying all the top programs together, Vince's biggest month of the year came in October, for arguably the peak of the McMahon-Austin program, with Vince having the most viewers gained in the business for his segments, with a massive total of almost 6 million viewers in addition to the highest rating average in the company. After starting the year as a potential WWF megastar to counter the established names on WCW television, Steve Austin ended the year as one of the biggest difference-makers the industry has ever seen, with him heading the company's on-screen turnaround throughout '98. While Austin was able to attract a large percentage of the WWF audience to his segments for months prior, he still didn't have the mass reach of the WCW headliners, as even the hyped Austin-Tyson segment, drawing a 4.7 unopposed rating, was outdrawn by an Hogan vs. Giant match going against Raw competition on the same night. April '98, with the official start of the Austin-McMahon program, was the breakthrough, as in the first 2 weeks of the month Austin had the two most watched segments of his career, with a 5.6 for a segment of him teasing going corporate, and a week later an all-time record 6 rating for a promoted match against McMahon, combined bumping Raw over 2.5 million viewers. Austin took the top spot as the highest-drawing performer in the business in June '98 for the first time in his career, leading Raw to its most dominant month to date with 5 wins in a row, with him peaking 4 out of the 5 shows during the month, while starting the Highway to Hell build-up with Taker in July and August with an over 5 rating average. The Austin-McMahon feud went to the next level in September and October, with all-time memorable segments coming one after another, with Austin getting his next WrestleMania opponent in mid-November with Rock's turn, as Austin throughout the 3-month period gained a huge 14 million viewers for his segments and matches, with the biggest one coming on November 16 against Rock, picking up over 2.3 million viewers to a record 7.3 rating, with Austin ending one of the biggest years for a wrestler in history, with the highest viewership gain and joint most peak segments in the business. With the rise of Austin followed by the explosion of Goldberg and Rock throughout different points of the year, when 1998 ended, Hulk Hogan still held 5 out of the top 6 highest-rated segments in Monday Night Wars history. As for the majority of '98, when put in a strong position to draw, nobody reached a bigger audience than Hogan. Hogan's 5 biggest numbers all came against different opponents, with a 6.4 rating for Warrior's WCW debut segment on August 17, followed by 3 6.5 ratings for a replay of the Rodman Malone Bash at the Beach match, a tag match with Giant against Goldberg and Nash on August 24, and a main event title match against Randy Savage on April 20. With the biggest number coming on July 6 against Goldberg, drawing an all-time record 6.9 rating, combined bumping the show over 11 million viewers. After a slower-than-usual June, with WCW still recovering from the previous month of preemptions, Hogan rebounded big in July and August, with the most viewers gained for his segments in the history of weekly wrestling television, gaining over 12 million viewers while peaking 7 out of the 8 shows during the run. Hogan made an appearance on 33 Night Raw shows during the year, with him involved in the highest-rated segment of the night in 23 shows out of the 33, by far the highest percentage of any performer in the industry, as despite cooling off by the end of the year and taking time off with him getting big mainstream coverage for a publicity stunt of him running for president, Hogan ended 1998 as the overall highest-drawing performer in the business.